So I see that you said the theater you're working in shut down during the pandemic, and that gave you the time to write your second fiction, Morewellian. Would you like to briefly introduce your fiction? I don't want to tell people too much in case they lose the interest in reading the whole book, but I want you to briefly introduce this book to the audience. And I can tell our audience that this book on Amazon get 5-star, very good rating, and if you see the comments, definitely you would have strong interest to read it. But Stephen, could you also let our audience why it's so interesting?
Yeah, so it's a fictionalized account of the COVID years, really, told from the perspective of a British journalist and a Chinese whistleblower, and to be honest, the Chinese whistleblower was inspired by. I think I kind of had an idea of having some sort of collaboration, but then I saw you on the I think the Tucker Carlson show years and years ago, and then you had fled to America, and I sort of incorporated that idea into the book. So I wanted to write the book kind of to awaken people to what was going on, but to do it sort of in a sort of entertaining fashion with a storyline. But also it was kind of cathartic for me because I was just very frustrated that everything we were being told by the media, especially in my country, and by the government, it just didn't add up. So I was prepared to give them the benefit of the doubt in the first couple of weeks, maybe the first month. But then it just seemed that all my doubts, all my suspicions, and I don't know why I'm naturally sceptical, and I was kind of sceptical from quite early. And, you know, the PCR tests were not reliable, but nobody was reporting on that. Quarantining children and the healthy should never have happened. That was sort of an efficient use of policy. They lied about the origins of the virus. They kept changing their mind about face masks. So all these things were kind of going through my head. I needed to vent, really, and writing the book was my way of doing that. So I sort of incorporated my limited knowledge of China, and so I came from the angle that it was deliberately released from a lab. In the sense I've changed lots of details, and there's lots of characters in the book that you might recognise, but the names are changed slightly. Some might know this Klaus Squibb. They're all based on real people. With a bit of imagination,
Yes, I have.
Yep.
Please. I have recognized that some name you used in the fiction, except for besides the one you used, as you said, inspired by me, because I see there is a character named Dr. Yun, Yuen, who's working on this disease. And thank you for creating such a character, and which I didn't know until you published the book. And I also see that you talk about Hong Kong-based big newspaper owner named. You called it in your book as Johnny Lee, and he owns the Pineapple Daily. But immediately I can recognize that he is Jimmy Lai, who's the owner of Apple Daily, and he is a very, very respectful person in Hong Kong, and also he is now in jail because China government claim he incite the subversion in Hong Kong independence, all like this. So he is not allowed to leave the prison. China government definitely doesn't want him to have any impact among the Hong Kong people and also the world. In this fiction, as we just talked about, and at the end of last section, you have created a character based on Hong Kong anti-CCP leading publisher Jimmy Lai, and also his Apple Daily. So would you like to share with our audience, because we know in the US and the UK now still there are people advocate for releasing free Jimmy Lai from the jail, and people are really worried that China would make Jimmy Lai finally sick or even die in the jail as they did to other real dissidents. So why do you want to create such a character, and what do you know about Jimmy Lai? Why do you think he inspired you to have this kind of creation, and what do you want to share?
Yeah, so while I was in Hong Kong, I was aware of Jimmy Lai and his Apple Daily, and I knew he was like one of the biggest characters in Hong Kong, and he was sort of it was like a rags to riches story. He arrived as a refugee in Hong Kong with when he was 5 or 6 years old, I think, and I just admired how he built up first a clothing emporium, newspaper, and when he was being attacked, even while I was still in Hong Kong, and the freedoms were being slowly eroded, and a lot of other newspapers like the South China Morning Post and censoring, because they knew they didn't want to upset the Chinese authorities. But Jimmy Lee was jealous, and the notions of freedom of speech and standing up for the Hong Kong people were so strong in him that he was prepared to make the sacrifice. And I just think that's a very impressive human attribute when people do that. So that's why I would always stand by someone like Jimmy Lai and others, even some in my own country who are being locked up for their own freedom of speech nowadays. Yeah.
So during Hong Kong's pro-democracy movement in 2019, at that time, do you also come to contact your previous friend in Hong Kong to know more information about Hong Kong from them, or do you establish new social connections with Hong Kong people, for example, in UK, to know about the movement?
Yeah, no, it was a shame really, because I left Hong Kong kind of before social media and everything, and the email I had at the time changed, so I lost contact with. So it was, yeah. So I was really just watching on television or online. So I didn't have a personal contact in Hong Kong to tell me what was going on. But I was aware of some of the student activists. So some of the characters in Morewellian were based also on these actual student activists that again were prepared to risk their own for the cause. And I just admired them so much, and I was just struck by the contrast between with the young people in the West, where young people in the West seem quite happy to lose their freedoms and to not stand up for democracy, and not caring about freedom of speech, not caring about government interference, whereas the Hong Kong people were standing up for all the things that I important in life. So my admiration for the Hong Kong people just grew leaving Hong Kong and just seeing, like 2 million people on the streets out of 7 million people. It was incredible, and it was so well organised and everything that I was sort of inspired again to write about them, and to in the book.
Oh yeah, when you talk about millions of Hong Kong people go to the street, yes, I was in Hong Kong at that time, and actually, when I read your description in Morewellian, this second fiction, it's not only a fiction for me because I can see that you combine a lot of the knowledge in depth about the politics and also the culture among the people between under different structures like Hong Kong, which is UK more about UK style, and China is a pure communist style. So it reminds me a lot of things happened in Hong Kong. Like for example, you have mentioned that why only cross one river in Shenzhen, the Shenzhen River. People live in Hong Kong and live in Guangdong province are totally different in their thinking, their also their values, ideology, and also you mentioned that Hong Kong people, as you just mentioned, when the student become rebelling, actually it's for freedom. They are in pursuit of freedom. While back to UK, you said it is the student minority or something. It's more about try to be communist sympathy even, or even from anti the democratic structure. So these are all the things I have observed when I was in Hong Kong from a different angle, because your background is the Western culture. My background is from the communist China, the education I received in China for over 20 years, and all this kind of propaganda from I was born gave me different kind of thinking background. So I try to understand, figure out why there are such differences. And talk about the protest. I want to share something with you. Do you know that as a person come from mainland, stay in Hong Kong for at that time in the middle of 2019 is already almost 7 years I stay in Hong Kong, work there. I have no idea how to join the protest and express your the real opinions. And I at that time when I say Hong Kong was protest in the street from the kids to the elder, and I I even have no idea why do they think this could work. So that was kind of very important change for me in my life. From that time, I started to realize the power of people, even under this kind of very, very, very strong control of the Chinese government. And this makes me start to try to collect a lot of information as much as I can to understand the differences. Why I even in the past over 30 years, including my life in Hong Kong, I even didn't realize the power of people and also the protest. And I can't have the idea to fight against the communist China government before I saw Hong Kong people's activities in the street in 2019. So yeah, please.
So I was going to say, can I ask you? So, if you're the mainland and never gone to Hong Kong, you think you would have still developed your belief, and your love of freedom, and or was that something that just fermented itself while you were in Hong Kong?
I still think I would develop that, and I went to Hong Kong because I don't like that kind of society and also the culture in mainland China, because when I moved to Hong Kong, I already complete my PhD study, and if I want, I could stay in a big hospital in Guangzhou and be an ophthalmologist, and also my family actually wanted me to stay in China. My parents, they wanted me to stay in China because that's a life they can foresee. It's in the future stable and have a good income, be respectful doctor, but I don't want to stay there. So that's why, without any other help, I don't have people who like the other Chinese student have the supervisor to recommend them, introduce them to the overseas lab. I don't have this kind of connection, and I don't get the apply the government scholarship. None of these things. I just want to try my best to leave that society. And finally, I get offer from the University of Hong Kong. So for me, I would say because of my maybe because of my whole childhood and my family bring me a lot of books from the West, like and also I watch the Disney cartoons, the U.S. movies, and I read the European fictions and literatures during my childhood. So I have this kind of feeling in pursuit of freedom. That's why there are also something conflict in myself, fighting against the existing culture in mainland China. When I was there, I don't feel comfortable to stay in that kind of society, even if I could be a doctor in a big hospital. I don't like that feeling. And so for me, I think even if I didn't get the chance to go to Hong Kong, I would still find the other opportunity to go to other places out of mainland. And if I must stay in China, I think I would be unhappy and not comfortable, because I can't recognize a lot of values there, especially the things government want input to us, want bring do the brainwash. Like I don't want to see people stay in an unfair environment and without any chance to struggle. And so, yeah, for me, I think I have the motive to leave Hong Kong at that time, leave China at that time.
You must have quite a strong character to be able to maintain an independent thought process when you're in a sort of indoctrinated society. I mean, that I guess, or do you think there are a lot of people in China like that, but just keep quiet?
I would say that there are definitely people like me. I won't say I'm the only one or such unique have this kind of feeling in pursuit of freedom, or by reading the Western literatures, or the like understanding the Western values, the universal values. But I would say that there are a lot of people, if they didn't get opportunity to leave China and they stay in China, then they would be kind of in a suppressed ways, which could, like for example, cause people have depression, and which is very common in China now, especially among the intellectuals. And also because the whole system, even the education system from beginning of our childhood, is already designed the way to select the people fulfill what government need, what communist China need. So a lot of people get abandoned from this system. Doesn't mean they are not capable to do anything. Doesn't mean they should be the loser in the society. It's just that the system throws them out because they cannot be totally brainwashed or shaped to whatever the government need. So there are a lot of Chinese people in China who actually have this kind of motives and feelings to have freedom. That's why when I moved to the United States, when I joined my colleague, Mr. Luda Media, using the Chinese speaking channel to advocate for anti-communist China, to review the darkness of communist China, we get huge feedback from China and from Xi Jinping's people around Xi Jinping's regime to the local Chinese people, even in the village, and also that make China government very, very angry, and they have launched very strong forces to arrest, disappear these people in China, because they know these are like the seeds of freedom. Once you allow the seeds to go to the ground, they will grow up. So I'm a lucky one. I can do what I want, and I'm still lucky, I'm still survive. This is very important because as you know that in Hong Kong, the brave Hong Kong fighters or people who want to go to Hong Kong, even back to Jimmy Lai's period, many of them are not unlucky enough. They even lost their lives. I'm a lucky person, so I still can do what I want, and I want to help people to change their life because I know that feeling once you have this kind of very strong motives inside, but the society doesn't allow it. It is really kind of a torture for you.